I went from 900 euros in the bank to financial freedom in just 7 years. And in this video, I will share with you everything that I learned about retiring early in Europe. I managed to do it before the age of 40, so I'm living proof that it is possible. And there is one decision that can make it much easier. 8 years ago, my wife got pregnant, and that made me both happy and scared because I realized I'm not ready at all to take care of my family. Throughout my 20s, I enjoyed life. I traveled, danced salsa, wrote books, had a lot of fun. And then suddenly I'm supposed to be a dad and provide for my family? It seemed crazy. But to me, that was a big kick in the butt, okay? I decided I need to make more money, I'm gonna save, I'm gonna invest, and I will give my family financial freedom. I knew that if my family could spend 30 to 40,000 euros per year, we would be quite happy. Okay, so the question was, how much did we need in the way of investments to give us that kind of passive income? Okay, and for this, the 4% rule is really helpful. This is something that is popular in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. This is based on a famous piece of research called the Trinity Study, where they asked, okay, if you have a portfolio of stocks and bonds, how much money can you take out every year and hopefully never run out of money? And the answer they came up with was 4% per year. So if I needed 40,000 euros per year, that meant I would need around 1 million euros in investments. That was a nice round number, so I made that my goal. Now, the next step is to figure out how much do you need to save and invest today to get to your goal in the future. So I needed to get to 1 million euros, and I figured 15 years was a good time frame. And I started doing some math to figure out like how much did I need to save and invest to get there. Now today, I actually have a cool calculator that you can use for this. I've put the link in the description below this video. Here's the calculator. We have an investment time frame, so that's 15 years. We have an amount that you're going to invest on day one. So let's assume that's 0. You're starting with nothing. Then every month you want to invest some amount of money. And then every year you want to increase this amount because hopefully your income will go up over time. Okay? And then you need some assumption about what kind of profit you will get from your investments. The long-term average for developed world stocks has been 9%, so let's say it's 9% per year. So the only real question here is, what is the monthly amount that you're going to invest? So let's say it's 300 euros per month. Where does that take us? Well, in 15 years, we will put aside 78,000 euros. We would have profit of 69,000 euros, and our final balance would be 147,000 euros. So that's nice, right? It would be a nice accomplishment, but it's certainly not a million. In fact, to get to a million, what do we need? Let's say 2,000 euros per month. Yep, pretty much right. So it's actually around, it's actually around 2,050 euros per month given these assumptions. So this is the calculation I did back in 2016. I realized I need to invest around 2 grand a month to reach my goals. Now, there was a problem with that. The past few years, I'd been working as a corporate trainer. I'd been teaching some classes on presentation skills and negotiation skills, and on average, I would make 1,500 euros per month. So the math just wasn't mathing. There wasn't enough income to nearly cover this amount of saving and investing. Even if I didn't have to pay for rent or food or diapers, I still didn't have enough money. And in that kind of situation, you can either change your goals or you can take massive action. I realized I needed to get a job with results-based compensation. Now, I live in one of the poorest countries in Europe, in Latvia. So a typical job was never going to pay me enough. So what I did was I called up all the people I knew. I got a lot of meetings with different business leaders across town. And I asked everybody, like, what are the coolest, what are the most difficult projects that you are working on? What can I help you with? Is there anything where we can do a joint venture or where I can get a percentage of the results? And most people told me to get lost. I remember there was this one Ernst & Young big accounting firm partner who said, like, who's going to give you joint ventures? Like, who's going to give you a percentage? You're a teacher. You've been teaching classes. Just find a way to teach classes better. And by the way, we'll come back to that guy in a second. But then I met a group of ambitious people who wanted to build a new investment company in Latvia. And they knew I had the right skills because some years ago I had worked on Wall Street in the US. They recognized that I had ambition, so they hired me. I became the CEO of this new company. And it's kind of crazy because I had not had a full-time job for around 5 years. and I became a financial CEO straight out of that. But it just goes to show you that if you have good skills and you're ambitious and you don't take no for an answer, you can find people who will take a risk on you and it can completely change your life. So as a CEO, I had pay which was closely linked to performance. And over the next 5 years, I made around 6, 7, 8,000 euros per month, which for my country was a lot of money. Okay. And at the same time, we kept our costs really low. We lived in a small Soviet era apartment. We drove a 15-year-old Opel while some of my employees drove BMWs. We really made sure to control our expenses, and that allowed us to invest several thousand euros per month. Now, you might have noticed something strange. I said at the start of the video that I reached financial freedom in 7 years, but according to our calculation, it was supposed to take 15 years. So what gives? Well, every year I invested part of my savings into the global markets in index funds and ETFs, but I invested the rest into the stock of the company where I was a CEO, the new investment company we were building. And because our company became really successful, that investment just exploded in value. And that's how I got to 7 figures much, much faster. Now, obviously, this kind of investment, investing in your own company, is very high risk, okay? It was a gamble. I could have lost everything, but it really worked out in my case. If you want to retire early in Europe, it's not easy, but it's doable. If you want to really do it fast, you will have to find ways to make a lot of money and maybe start your own business. If you want to go the classic route, you can simply save money every month and invest in index funds and ETFs. That works too. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, there is one decision that can really make this whole thing easier. After a few years running this investment company, I was just burnt out. I had made a bunch of money, so I said, I quit. I'm going to retire early, or at least spend a whole bunch of time not working. But just a few months later, I was working again. Now, I was having a lot more fun because I was building an online education company for European investors. And it turned out I just loved that. So the guy from Ernst & Young that I mentioned earlier, he was actually right. Education was the right field for me, okay? And this mirrors something I've seen with a lot of my wealthy friends, with people who achieved wealth early in their life here in Europe. A lot of them retired early, but virtually nobody stayed retired, okay? If you're ambitious enough to have a good income and save and invest and get to 1 or 2 million at the age of 40 or 45 or even 50, chances are you will not be able to sit still. You will want to do some work, start a new company, maybe run your own yoga studio like one of my friends, or become a business consultant. In fact, the funny thing is, once you no longer have to work for a living, once you choose your work because it's what you want to do, in many cases, people end up making even more money and their income goes up instead of down. So if you kind of recognize that ahead of time, if you recognize that early retirement is not actually something that you will be doing, then you can aim for semi-retirement instead, which is the reality of what most people do after they reach their target number. And semi-retirement means you don't need your investments to cover all your income. Maybe you want your investments to cover 1/3 or half of your income, and that is much, much easier to achieve. Now, whichever choice you make, investing will be an important skill to get you there. So you might want to watch this video where I share some brutal advice for new investors.